The air hums with the metallic tang of ozone from the capacitor bank, a faint scent of old coffee lingering in the recycled air. Patched cables snake across the console, connecting the worn, hand-labeled vinyl to a transmitter that thrums with the stubborn pulse of a city refusing to sleep. Outside, the rain slicked the concrete, mirroring the glint of distant neon.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Welcome back to the frequency. Across Ballard Estate, the dial sits at 82 Fahrenheit under patchy rain nearby. Winds are moving from the west at 17 miles per hour. Tonight, we're building new patterns, focusing on the structures that hold us, inside and out. Our first signal tonight comes from the opaque world of high finance. A major player, Jane Street, has made a hefty payment to keep certain information under wraps. Lex, what's the structural implication of this kind of move?
Togee, this isn't just a quiet settlement. It's a strategic move by Jane Street to reinforce its informational fortress. The firm reportedly paid a 9-figure sum, estimated at over 100 in a recent private settlement with a major U.S. regulatory body to avoid the public disclosure of proprietary trading data and specific risk metrics that would have otherwise been part of a public legal proceeding. This shields their algorithmic strategies and profit models from competitors like Citadel Securities and Virtue Financial. The exposure here is to the principle of market transparency, where a premium can effectively buy silence on potentially sensitive internal operations.
This echoes the ancient concept of the sacred secret held by a guild or a specific lineage, where knowledge is power, and its concealment is paramount. Think of the Eleusinian mysteries, where the uninitiated paid with ignorance. Who carries this forward? Every other proprietary trading firm now has a clear blueprint for maintaining their intellectual property through financial settlement, effectively setting a market price for regulatory discretion.
It raises questions about the integrity of the market's architectural foundations, the cost of opacity. Patching in a caller, the skeptic. You're on the signal.
Togee, this is Maya. If Jane Street can simply buy off public disclosure with a 9-figure payment, who truly benefits? Is this an advantage for market stability by preventing panic, or is it just a loophole for firms to operate without full accountability to the wider public and smaller investors? What's the real cost benefit here for anyone outside their boardrooms?
Copy that, bringing it back to the main thread.
Maya, your point is sharp. The immediate benefit accrues to Jane Street, protecting its competitive edge and proprietary methodologies. For regulators, a large fine provides revenue without the protracted legal battle. However, an alternative path would have been for the regulatory body to insist on public disclosure, potentially setting a precedent for greater transparency across the HFT sector, even if it meant a longer, costlier legal fight. The chosen next move, the settlement, prioritizes expediency and privacy over public scrutiny, effectively solidifying an architecture of discretionary disclosure for firms with deep pockets.
A clear vector for discerning how power shapes the civic architecture of finance. From the secretive walls of Wall Street, let's pivot to the shifting sands within Australia's political structures. Our next signal hits the airwaves from Canberra, where the coalition finds itself in a public split. South Australian Senator Andrew McLaughlin is urging colleagues to follow his lead regarding Andrew Bragg's controversial speech. Lex, what's the core of this internal tremor?
Cool down is when habits set. Swap the tiresome combo for a clean 2-step people want to repeat.
This division stems from Senator Andrew Bragg's recent speech at the Center for Independent Studies, where he advocated for significant superannuation reforms, specifically pushing for greater individual choice in fund management and questioning the power of union-backed industry funds. This directly challenges the more cautious, consensus-driven approach preferred by elements of the Liberal National Coalition leadership, including some senior ministers wary of alienating powerful institutional players. Senator McLaughlin's public call for support for Bragg exposes a deep ideological fault line within the party regarding economic liberalism versus traditional conservative pragmatism. This exposes the party's cohesion, particularly as they seek to present a united front to the electorate ahead of the next federal election.
This isn't just policy, it's a modern political drama echoing ancient factional disputes, like the Roman Senate debates between Optimates and Populares. McLaughlin's call to follow his lead is a direct challenge to the party's internal hierarchy, akin to a tribal elder openly questioning the chief's direction. Who carries this next? We'll see how many backbenchers and aspiring leaders decide to align with Bragg's reformist wing, potentially reshaping the future policy platform on financial regulation and individual economic autonomy.
The tension here is between party discipline and individual conviction, a fundamental test of any political architecture. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
This is David calling in. So, this internal squabble within the coalition, does this actually serve the public? Or is it just political theater that distracts from real governance? What's the cost of this public discord for the average Australian trying to plan their retirement? And what's the benefit of airing these differences so openly?
David, the immediate cost for the public can be policy uncertainty, especially around critical areas like superannuation, which impacts millions of Australians' retirement savings. The benefit, if any, is that it forces a public debate on reforms that might otherwise be stifled internally. An alternative for the coalition would have been to conduct these debates in party rooms, reaching a unified policy position before public statements. However, the chosen next move, this public split, signals a deliberate push by a reformist faction to force the leadership's hand, creating an internal dynamic that could lead to either policy innovation or further fragmentation, ultimately impacting their civic architectural integrity.
A critical moment for consent within a party structure. From political architecture to the civic architecture of memory, let's turn our attention to Japan. Our final signal tonight comes from Japan, where the history of housing for post-war returnees is being carefully kept alive. Anansi, what structures are being preserved here?
This effort aims to chronicle the immense challenge faced by the 6.6 million Japanese nationals repatriated from former colonial territories like Manchuria, Korea, and Sakhalin after World War II, who returned to a devastated homeland with severe housing shortages. Concrete efforts include digital archiving projects by institutions like the University of Tokyo, documenting the temporary housing settlements known as Hikiageshamura, returnee villages, and the subsequent danchi, large public housing complexes, that accommodated them. A tangible example is the preservation of specific community halls and housing blocks in areas like Chiba Prefecture's Kashiwa City, which were central to these communities. The exposure is to an often overlooked narrative of human resilience and government response to mass displacement, challenging a singular, often sanitized account of Japan's post-war recovery.
This is Mono no Aware in action, the poignant recognition of the impermanence of things, yet an active effort to preserve the tangible links to past hardship and collective rebuilding. It's about ensuring the narrative of those who literally rebuilt their lives from the ashes, sometimes living in repurposed military barracks or hastily constructed prefabs, isn't forgotten. The lineage of this memory is carried forward by local community groups, descendants of returnees, and urban historians who advocate for the architectural signal these modest structures represent, a testament to dignity maintained through immense adversity.
It speaks to the resilience of a people and the architectural signal of hope.
This is Kenji. I appreciate the history, but in modern Japan with land at a premium, what's the actual cost of preserving these old, often dilapidated post-war structures? And what's the benefit of maintaining these specific memories today when so many new challenges face us, like an aging population and natural disasters? Is it worth the investment over building new, efficient housing?
Kenji, that's a crucial tension. The direct cost involves land use, maintenance, and the financial resources for archiving, which could indeed be allocated to new development. However, the alternative, allowing these physical and oral histories to simply fade or be demolished without record, carries a significant cultural cost: the loss of a foundational narrative of national recovery and social integration. The chosen next move, this active preservation, is a strategic investment in civic memory and identity. It provides a unique educational resource on human adaptation and government policy during crisis, acting as a structural anchor that connects contemporary Japanese society to its immediate post-war foundations, fostering empathy and informed resilience for future challenges.
An act of sovereign architecture, building memory not just for history, but for the future. Preserving provenance, honoring dignity. A faint crackle of static washes over the board, then clears, leaving the hum of tubes.
Prototype the fix.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.